Hello, 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 and welcome to Intercultural Spark. This is a show where we love to connect with people around the globe, across the US, but people that are doing things that really spark change in the lives of others. And today, our guest or possible guest is Bruna Augusto. Bruna is in Brazil, and apparently it rained all last night, and so we're having trouble with connection. So we're going to go ahead and start the show, and hopefully we can get Bruna on today. I wanted to invite Bruna. So she is the founder of Instituto Recivitas, which is the Institute for the Revitalization of Citizenship, and she's been doing work for years, she and her husband Marcos, on basic income. And you may hear about that more lately because with AI taking so many jobs now, basic income is something that's more of the popular vernacular now. So welcome to Intercultural Spark, and great to see you here. All right, welcome back. So Bruna Augusta is planned to be my guest today. She is in Brazil from the Instituto Recivitas, and it rained all night, and we're having really terrible problems with connection to actually get her into the show. So we're going to do a couple things today. One is I do want to talk a little bit about Bruna and her work and what she does, and I'll give you all the information on how to reach out to her in case we can't get her. But also, there's just a couple new segments that we wanted to introduce to the show today that we'll go ahead and do. And actually, I have access to Bruna by phone. So if you have questions for her, let me know. And of course, we'll try to get her another day. What impressed me the most, I guess, so when we talk about Spark, it goes beyond just like the jobs or the things that we do. It's when someone has a passion, it's something that just really lights the fire inside them and it guides everything they do. So Bruna and her husband founded the Instituto Recivitas in 2006. So they've been going at this for 15 years now. And the whole idea was to create a basic income in Brazil. And the idea of basic income is that you would have a set amount of money that would go to every single citizen, no matter what their means are. So that's the idea behind it. What I was hoping what Bruna would share with us is how that's different from welfare. From a practical point of view, there's no applications. Like the whole welfare system in the US certainly has all kinds of crazy application processes and things like that. With basic income, it's everyone gets the same amount of money. And the idea is to give dignity and basically respect for all individuals to have a living wage. The theory is that once people have that, it frees them up to be able to participate fully in society. Bruna obviously could share more with us in terms of how that plays out. The website actually does have quite a bit. You can look at. They've got I've got the version in Portuguese right now, but there's obviously in you can turn it to English. But they've got all kinds of research. They've got partners, so you can look more there. But they have. I guess from my perspective, I had thought of it as something that maybe was a little bit more marginalized as an idea, but Bruna and her husband Marcos have spoken all around the globe. So they've been everywhere from France and Portugal to Germany to Oxford University. So there's all kinds of congresses all around the globe that are talking about basic income. Where it's coming to play now, I know my son is like, it's going to happen. Like at some point it's going to happen because of the fact of so much of AI taking away jobs that there's just not going to be as many jobs. And therefore, one alternative is that you'd have basic income to support people who have lost their jobs or been displaced by AI. And in the US, actually, according to a 2020 Gallup poll, 48% of Americans support universal income. So again, if you're just tuning in, Bruna, who is my lovely guest from Brazil, was unable to, she couldn't make it. Like with technology, we have so many huge advances, but with technology, sometimes nature still has its way. And it rained all night in Brazil last night, and so we're having trouble with the connection to get her in. She is talking about basic income. If you're here live, would love to know your thoughts about it, or we'd be happy to share questions with Bruna after the fact. Pros and cons of basic income. One is people say nobody will want to work because if you just get a salary, nobody will want to work. What Bruna has found, what they found in the village that they adopted in Brazil, is that it actually let people get rid of stress, get rid of worries. And so they actually wanted to produce more. So Bruna and her husband are amazing. And what impressed me most is they have a project in Caatinga Velha, which is a little village outside of Sao Paulo. And basically in that village, it was literally $10 a person to be able to bring them up to a minimum wage to be able to support their families. And so they were able to adopt an entire village for $140 a month. That study of Caatinga Velha has been a case study that's been proven elsewhere. That's actually been successful as well. So I can see Bruna is trying to get in. The problem is, so she's in, Bruna, you're in, but her microphone and camera are not connecting. And she's probably dying because I'm giving she's probably dying listening to me because there's so much depth and research. Like, she has lived basic income for years. I am brand new looking at it because I'm so impressed with her. And so I feel like she's behind the scenes going wait, no, it's this, and adding all kinds of commentary to it. So we'll be sure to get her back. What is fantastic about her, though, and I'd love to hear from people who are watching live, is who would have thought that for $140 you could adopt a whole village and actually make a village thrive. I think we think that to do something really big in the world, that it's got to be big, that it's got to reach millions of people, with social media nowadays, unless you have 10,000 followers, it doesn't matter. But the idea of one person can reach one person. And even years ago, Bruna, one of the first stories I remember when she first started getting involved in this was one of the things when she first got involved in this. I remember her telling a story of she and her husband where they put their big TV in the front room of their home, but then they faced it out. So basically from their front window of the home, they just put their TV in the front window and would air cartoons so that kids in the neighborhood could actually sit in their yard and enjoy watching television because they had a TV and that was just something that they could do. I find that fascinating because how hard is that? I think sometimes we can do things and we have the power to do things that impact other people that can be much bigger than we ever imagine. So Stephanie, thank you so much for being here. I love that you're here. Stephanie has such a kind heart and is so kind to others. And so whenever I see your name, Stephanie, I just all of a sudden my heart just gets bigger too. So I love having you there. So here's something I find fascinating. Funding for the book, how did that happen? So let me go back to her website that, let me see if I refresh it. Oh, here we go. It gives me an option for English. We could do it in Portuguese, but I think that would be harder. So here's something interesting. So they actually they are an official, in Brazil, they call them ONGs, O-N-G. ONGs are they're NGOs, non-governmental organizations, but they're officially registered. And so they take donations here on their website, which is, I can tell you right now, their website is recivitas.org. So you can go, oh, by the way, I tried that in Chrome. It did not work for me in Chrome, but it did work in, what's the Microsoft, it did work in the Microsoft browser or other browsers. But here's what's interesting, because they talk about social technology and digital democracy, which we'll have to get from Bruna more details of what that means, because you can make donations on their website. But check this out. They accept Bitcoin. So actually, for all of you big Bitcoin investors, you can now actually donate to Recivitas with Bitcoin as well. So thanks for asking that question, because basically when they get funding, it funds the publishing of their book. They do worldwide. They speak a lot at worldwide worldwide conferences and congresses. And I know she has another book in the works right now that they're looking to get funding for, but it also goes to basically supporting the basic income for the people of in Katinga Vella. So, which I will show you some pictures of that. So poor Bruna. I feel so bad. Bruna's actually trying to, on my end, can see backstage. So I can see where she is trying to join in, and it's just not working. So let me go ahead. So that's really great for that. They also have, by the way, as long as I'm on the website, if you look at the think tank, all the lectures that they've done, they've actually done 2 TED Talks as well, which I know Stephanie just recently did her first TED Talk. They're up to 2 TED Talks now. And again, they've done this just all around the globe. I want to share with you some of the pictures. There you go. So some of the pictures. So these are some of the people who live in Katinga Vella, which is the name of the village where they have sponsored it. One of the big projects that they did when they originally started was to get free books and toys for kids in the village. So here's a little pumpkin. Actually, so some of you may know my husband's Brazilian, and we always like to take American words and then to kind of Brazilianize them. And there's a phrase called Inha. It's INHA, and that's the diminutive. That's how you make something like cute and little. And so I always see kids like this, and I used to call my son Pumpkin. So I call little kids like this Punquinha, this little pumpkins, which, by the way, does not translate. When my sister-in-law visited and I called my son Punquinha, the translation is a bulbaro, which is basically like a zucchini. It's like calling your child a squash. They thought it was hilarious. So that's my lesson for today. So that's a little Punquinha, and that is Bruna. That is the beautiful and wonderful Bruna, who is reading to him. I'm totally making up stories now. This would be a fun game to put pictures up and then make up stories. If anybody wants to share their story of what they think is happening in this picture, please go ahead. The part that I do know about this picture is that as Bruna and her husband Marcos, and I'm going to say his last name just because I want to show I can pronounce it. It's Marcos Brancaglione. So giving a talk, I'm presuming about basic income. But the other thing I found interesting, this TV Ong, which I'm not sure if they're still broadcasting or not, but when you look at how you reach people with ideas, they had a TV show where they were broadcasting, they're publishing books. The one way to control the information or to really put out information that relates to what you do is to create your own media platform. I mean, honestly, that's what this StreamYard show is. It's a media platform to be able to share ideas that you are powerful and can change the world with following your spark, which is what Bruna does and which guests that I bring on every week do. It's we don't have to wait for permission. I think that's a really important message. So I'm going to pause and then say it again. You don't have to wait for permission to do something monumental that impacts, we can do the world with a capital W, or just that impacts somebody else. Each one reach one. You don't have to wait for permission. There's so much media at our access that, find your spark. Think of what your spark is, and then look at how you spread it to the world. So while there's a lot going on in this image, I'm focusing on the TV Ong because why not create your own television station to be able to broadcast what you do? So I'm assuming here's another adorable Punquinha who has gotten a gift from Recivitas, from the Katinga Vella project, where toys, and think about it, toys and books, you think of that as an unalienable right for young people, but it doesn't happen by accident, especially if people are living below the poverty line and can't afford it. So again, with donations to them, or I'm sure there's other organizations, you're able to impact the life of a child, to residents from Katinga Velha, I'm guessing. And that's Bruna and her husband, Marcos. And we'll let Bruna tell us when we are able to connect with her what they are talking about in this image. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and come back right back at you. That is what I have about Bruna. And poor Bruna, she's trying again to get in, but it looks like it's just not going to happen for today. So I hope, Bruna, that I've done you well. What I would love about her is that she would be able to share much more deeply in terms of what governments are adopting this. Universal basic income is no longer a sort of marginalized concept. There are more governments talking about it. In often cases, it is because of AI and jobs that are being lost. How will it be funded? Some people say by the government. Some people say by taxes on higher income individuals. Some actually say that it should be funded by companies that are focusing on AI, where jobs are being lost. So the website to learn more is recivitas.org. And again, it's the Institute for the Revitalization of Citizenship. So the deeper meaning is about allowing people to have a basic, above the poverty, like a basic living income, so that people then don't have the stressors of where they're going to get their next meal, and that people can all become more participatory in society. You can also follow them on Facebook and Twitter. And that is not actually Ever Strong Coaching. That is a segue to my new segment, which is 30 for 30. It's a 30-second exercise at 30 minutes. Ever Strong Coaching has nothing to do with basic income. That is actually mental game coaching. So different topic. But there you go. Facebook and Twitter for Recivitas. So, oh, actually, I'm really excited. Bruna was able to send me private chat, and she said, "You are amazing, freaking incredible to hold alone. I am getting crazy here." So I'm hoping that, Bruna, that's like a thumbs up, that I'm at least like remotely well representing you on basic income. The one final part, and you're welcome to private chat me and I can share. The one thing I did want to ask is, I have this so Bruna and her husband they have 2 kids now. They have 2, I think it's 2 daughters who are absolutely adorable. And when Bruna gives her bio, she includes in her bio that she's an activist and a mother. And I love that, because it's that idea of, when your spark drives what you do, you don't have, here's my work, here's my personal, like, you're one person. And so I have this I've built, as I've been reading more about Bruna, I have this huge romanticized image of what it's like, where she and her husband have this passion of changing the world, and they're seeing results, and they're 2 kids, and they probably never even had to change diapers. It was probably so amazing. But I'd love to know, Bruna, more about how your day-to-day life is. It really actually sounds exciting to have so much alignment between what you do and what you believe. So I promise that we'll get Bruna back. If anyone else has questions, I can at least now communicate with her to share them. But otherwise, what I am going to do is to introduce my new segment, which is called Wait, I'm going to take a question from Stephanie first. Does Bruna involve her daughters in the project? And if so, how? So Bruna, oh, I love it. Yes, all is correct. We can do it from our own connections, start small and keep growing. All right. So Bruna, Stephanie wants to know how your children, and remind me, I think it's 2 girls, but How do your children get involved in the project? So tell us that. What I'm going to do while Bruna is giving us that answer is I'm going to show you my I'm going to show you my new segment, which is called, wait for it. Ta-da! All right, it's the flash exercise. Someone said if I was going to make my show uniquely me, what would I do? And I'm like, well, I wouldn't have people sit for 30 minutes without moving because you just don't do that. And I want you to know, and I'm going to do it. Probably like a lot of people, my daily life goes between business and then exercise. And so literally, okay, we're going to exercise. I'm ready. So this is a new thing where at the end, at 30 seconds, we're going to do an exercise that you can do at your desk because we shouldn't all be sitting for so long. So today's it's called a trapezius stretch. You know how when here, I'll move, this scarf was from my sister-in-law in Brazil, which is why I wore it. She knitted it for me. So basically the trapezius are those muscles when you're cold or when you're stressed, they get really tight. So here's what you do. You bring your ear to your shoulder, you look under your arm, and then you take your opposite hand and you shoot it to the floor. And you're going to feel that stretch right along your neck. And then you lift, ear to shoulder, look, and shoot your arm to the floor. Oh, I want everyone who's watching live to do that right now. So that is your trapezius stretch, ear to shoulder, look, and the other arm just shoots to the floor. And you're going to feel that great stretch. And then hopefully for the rest of the day, you will keep your shoulders away from your ears. See, look how easily you can go. No excuses for not exercising. Look how easily you can go from exercise back to important business person. All right. Bruna says, yes, the kids already went to the project, but today we talk a lot about what the BI is, and we can do it without waiting for the government. Oh, now I need to know what BI is. Sorry, Bruna. And we have the power to stand up and do it. We have the knowledge inside us. I will answer all the questions even after the show. So what I'm going to say, basic income. Duh. You mean that thing I've been talking about for half an hour? That's really funny. I'm actually even blushing. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we talk about basic income. You know, I think my friend Jerry watches this show a lot, and Jerry always talks about how you share values with your family. And part of it is expressing those values and talking them out loud. You never know which of your values your kids or your grandkids will adopt, but it's really important to be able to articulate your values because that's the only way that you even have a chance that someone might be able to, that your kids or your grandkids might hear them. And I believe that even when they go through that rebellious stage where they do the exact opposite of everything you're teaching them, I do believe that ultimately when they get older, that there's a lot of things they circle back to. So, oh, that's great. I love it. Stephanie tried my exercise while standing. Fantastic. That is such a good one because we're like this all day, especially now that everyone's on computer so much. So I am glad. And I hope you like that segment. Every week, we're going to have a new exercise that you can do while you are sitting. My friends, I have to say that amazingly, we've actually covered 30 minutes of a show. So we learned about Bruna and about basic income in Brazil. Again, really encourage you to visit her website. It's the Recivitas Institute. And as soon as you do it, you may know this, that it'll come up, it'll ask you if you want to translate to English. So the original site's in Portuguese, but you can always just translate it to English. So you can learn more on the site. You can also learn more by going to the website. And Bruna, just put in the chat, because the one thing I always like to ask people is like 1 or 2 words. What's your spark that drives you to do all this? So I'd love to know your spark that we can share with everyone. You can also connect with Bruna and Recivitas on Twitter and Facebook. So that is it. thank you all so much for being here. If there are other questions, just put them in the chat, either on YouTube or on Facebook, and Bruna can answer those after the fact. And she said that, oh, she was talking about the values, that yes, her kids have the feeling of sharing. They have that. That's actually integrated them as a value, as is the sense of justice and independence. And after 12 years with the project, we can see some differences in the kids and psychological changes. So even in kids growing up, when they have that, when they don't have to be afraid of where their next meal is coming from. I mean, it's that basic, that there's really opportunity for strong citizen participation and individual growth. So, yes, the basic income makes all these changes. And yes, Bruna says, please send me more questions. Oh my gosh, Stephanie, Jerry, everyone who joined, I am so grateful to you for joining. And I hope we'll see you next week. So thank you so much. And again, thanks for watching Intercultural Spark.